hard for a new generation? We are talking Run, Hide, Fight. This one is directed and written by Carl Ranklin and stars Isabel May as Zoe Hull. Actually got a pretty good supporting cast as well, including Thomas Jane, Rhonda Mitchell, Treat Williams and Barbara Crampton. And it's essentially a school shooter movie, kind of wrapped up in an action movie style production, if that makes sense. Now, I originally thought this was going to be like more of a dramatic kind of the horrors of the modern kind of school shooting that unfortunately we seem to get on a semi-regular basis in America. But it actually is kind of a Die Hard style action movie to a certain degree, but it's Die Hard with more of a social and political kind of commentary rather than the kind of the macho yippee-ki-yay-isms of the original Die Hard film. So what we have this American high school, and it focuses on our kind of protagonist, this Zoe character, who is dealing with the death of her mother and is a little bit of a shut-off. She is kind of like the quiet, kind of unassuming, bit of a loner. She has a sort of one sort of friend really, or maybe a couple of, a small group of friends. Her father is into hunting, so she kind of keeps herself to herself, wearing kind of military garb and such. And then one day the school is actually under siege by these four teenagers who decide that they are going to execute a number of their classmates and hold the school hostage. And it is up to Zoe to kind of use her wits to try and outsmart these school shooters and obviously even the odds. So first of all, let's talk about what works in this movie. I think the movie, I can say it does balance that kind of the old style kind of action movies like Die Hard, but it was also reminded of things like Lethal Weapon as well in a lot of ways. But it has that more modern kind of self-referential and kind of, making commentary on the kind of like the social political issues that we kind of have in modern society, such as bullying, popularity, kind of the, social networking, things like this. So it has a lot of, it doesn't really spend too much time on any one particular subject, to be fair, but it does kind of dip its toe into kind of many type of, modern references and kind of situations that we have in certainly a modern life, especially if you are a teenager. I actually thought this movie struck quite a good balance. It does tend to, I do think maybe it's trying to have a little bit of it's trying to be a bit self-referential in regards to the action movie tropes. For example, Zoe wears like the tank top that John McClane wears, things like this. And I think maybe it borders on just becoming a little bit of more of that rather than kind of like a commentary on it. But nonetheless, I do think it does more or less kind of balance, making it an action film on its own right, but whilst also having, important and shocking views on things like this. I think school shooters are a difficult subject matter because obviously this is a thing that seems to be happening, with regular occurrences. So it's almost sometimes in bad taste to make films about them, to be honest with you. But I feel this one, maybe it's because I'm from the UK and we don't really have that really here. But I think it just about manages to seem like it's taking advantage of it, if that makes sense. And it just feels like it's just out of kind of reality, just kind of this slightly hyper-real scenario where, circumstances seem to happen and we have those action movie moments and things like that. So it kind of seems like it's a weird mix of this very real kind of situation that happens, but also infused with the sort of the action movie tropes that you will enjoy. But as an action movie, I do think it works well. There's four of these kind of school shooters. So a lot of it is using kind of wits and things like that, and a good use of the school supplies and things like that. It maybe does kind of foreshadow a little bit too much with certain things, like this will come in handy later. I know you've kind of got to do that in a movie, to be honest with you, but it seems somewhat unnatural, I have to be honest with you. I thought the acting was all great. I thought the supporting cast of more recognisable names here did a great job of having kind of grounded, realistic roles. I think Barbara Crampton, it was almost unrecognisable. I was like looking at her and thinking, who's that? I recognise her face, but she doesn't have the typical blonde hair, which kind of threw me for a second. But I thought they did a great job, and we don't know a huge amount about our kind of antagonists, but I feel we kind of got enough to kind of know where they were coming from and kind of the reasons they were doing it, at least from some of them. So I thought that was all quite good, and obviously I think because we have a smaller amount of antagonists, it does make then when we do have the conflicts, you know, that much more impactful and kind of seem like we really are dealing with, you know, the loss of human life. And I think that's especially true of when they first kind of attacking the executing students, because that does seem obviously, you know, very kind of brutal at times. From there, it kind of goes more into the kind of the action movie sort of territory. Do I have any complaints? Like I said, I think maybe it's a difficult balance to strike between making a biting social drama and an action movie, and I think it just has one, you know, a little bit more in the kind of the action movie column than the kind of the social political commentary drama like I think it's trying to do. But nonetheless, it's an enjoyable film nonetheless. I think maybe our main kind of antagonist is a little bit too influenced by the Joker, I have to say. I did feel like I was getting massive Joker vibes from him and that kind of thing, which was a little bit, I thought it was a little bit on the nose. It occasionally does fall into kind of some action movie cliches, especially the kind of like the final conflict, which we've seen in a number of kind of you know, action movie films and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, I thought the acting was all very good, and I just think it just falls into a few cliches here and there. That's really the only thing I would say that is a real negative of this movie, because I actually enjoyed this movie a lot. I thought our protagonist was extremely likeable, and I think it's difficult because she comes across as kind of somewhat belligerent in the beginning of the movie, but you really root for her, and I think that's some fantastic writing, direction, and acting. And it's a, you know, when you make a character somewhat unlikable, you need to be so good to still get you to root for that character, and then you become. You like it, you see her more of a point of view, and you see she's not unreasonable and actually very heroic in the movie. But though I maybe would have liked to have seen another scene at the end of this movie to see somewhat of the aftermath. I would have liked to have seen other people's reactions to her and things like that. That's the only thing I would have liked to have seen extra in this movie. But overall, I enjoyed the hell out of this. I thought this was a great film, and if you're wanting a modern day Die Hard, then look no further. 7 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.